I'm so jazzed to be here with a colleague, Amanda Litman, who runs Run for Something. And what a week to be having this conversation, Amanda. All hell is breaking loose in the South, and it's primary season, and so many things are happening, so many attacks, but so much hope. And I
Mhm.
know one of the things you and I share in common is that we get so much hope and energy from the local candidates we get to work with.
Right.
So first, tell us what Run for Something does for the people who don't know, and let's start with what Run for Something does and something about your work right now that is giving you hope and energy.
Love this question. Lauren, thank you so much for having me. This is so fun. So, Run for Something recruits and supports young leaders running for local office in all 50 states. We have been around since 2017, and we have a pipeline of more than 260,000 young people who've raised their hands to run for office. We've helped elect more than 1,650, mostly women and people of color, exclusively to things like state legislatures, city council, school board, library board, the real building blocks of what democracy looks like. The thing I am most excited about is that in 2025, we had 80,000 people raise their hands to run for office. That is more than we had in the entirety of Trump's first term. And what that energy has translated into is a record number of people seeking our support in 2026. We
Wow.
just endorsed our newest class. We're up to more than 300 and what's the exact number now? Let's see, 323 people in 2026. And my expectation is we will cross 400 candidates this year.
Wow.
Amazing young leaders who are doing the damn thing, running for office, like making like positive, affirmative, visionary cases about why they should get elected, which is so desperately what we need.
That is huge. So I'm going to tell a story and then I want to dig into that a little bit more. So I'm sitting here in Fulton County, Georgia,
Mhm.
where the attacks from MAGA, they're really making us a focal point. Obviously, they have since 2020. And sometimes, our PAC, we do our deepest political work in the South, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana with our PAC, and we do a ton of candidate work. And sometimes folks ask me, like, what's the connection between the political work and our voting rights work? I'm like, I can tell you so many examples of people on city council, county commissions who end up in an opportunity to advance voting access, even though it's not in their job description. Sometimes it is in their job description. So we have an actual Fair Fight alum, Amanda, who raised her hand and is now my county commissioner, my district county commissioner.
Right.
Well, and she and some colleagues have just led the fight from the commission to defend the Board of Elections and have now been testifying in Congress and all the rest. It's a great example of, yeah, there's like this piece of elections that they oversee vis-a-vis the relationship with the Board of Elections, but it's not something that we would normally not just think about a county commissioner as being so important in voting rights. My other story is 2 years ago, we were working to advance, try to encourage more early voting and voting access in Chatham County down on the coast in Savannah. And it was a city council member, not even in Savannah, it's for the county, outside in a small suburb, who was in a meeting with me and my colleagues. I was like, oh, we can get this done. The issue is they don't have a location in this place. I'll go get the location, worked with the county, got the location. So it's a small town city councilman. No one would think that's a voting rights job, but he had the access to the information on how to expand access in his community. So for me, it's all connected. Uh, and so I'm so just over the moon to hear about your huge class this year.
Yeah.
Tell me, give us the top lines. How many states? I know you work nationally. Um, there's still some qualifying deadlines out there. If somebody's listening and wants to run, like, tell us sort of the national scope and then how you kind of help people through the process.
So our 2026 candidates are running across 42 states. So we're still missing a few places, but we're nearly in
That's
all 50.
impressive, Amanda. 42 is great.
Amazing. They are 17% self identified as people with disabilities, 57% self identify as low income. So, really, like real people who give a shit.
Normal people.
Normal people. 54% are running for state ledge, and 34% are running for municipal office. We've got about 8% running for school board or education related roles. About 29% of them are under the age of 30. So, they are Gen Z. They are
Wow.
amazing and they are running and they are incredible. If you're curious, which I know you always are, 20% of our candidates identify as Black. 42% total identify as people of color. 49% total identify as women. 2% identify as non binary, just if you're wondering. And we have already won, let's see, over 43 elections, either special elections or moved on from the primary to the general. So we're doing it. We're doing the damn thing.
You know, I know we all wonder, like, where's the future gonna be? And this is the pipeline right here
Mhm.
because we have so many challenges, and getting this new pipeline of Gen Z young people who are connected to their communities and, uh, they're all digital natives, they're all social media natives, they know how to build audience, they know how to communicate in the current ecosystem, and
Mhm.
we got a lot of problems, and one of my sort of, Captain Obvious that I know me and many others have is that part of the problem is we have so many people in positions of power who don't know how to communicate in the current ecosystem,
Yep.
and so we're gonna really need those Gen Z folks to push. I would also say we're in a massive racist map rigging situation in the South. It's starting in Congress. It's also impacting state legislature. What's also happening, however, in the South is we are winning tough races. One
Mhm.
of my obviously, one of our collective favorite examples is a Democrat took the Mar-a-Lago seat down in South Florida.
A
We
run for
obviously
candidate.
and that is a run for something candidate.
That was
Amanda and I did not coordinate that. So there you go. Run for something's candidate won the Mar-a-Lago district down in South Florida. That's fantastic. And what we're looking at these new maps they're rolling out. These are gerrymanders are aggressive and they're racist, but I think they're going to create unintended consequences. I think there's going to be opportunities, especially in a big wave year like this. So just so you know, down here in the South, I was in Nashville this week. We are looking at every single map that gets redrawn, and we are collectively putting together the most aggressive plan for turnout and any late recruitment to win as much as we can this fall, including in the Georgia State House. We could win a majority in the Georgia State House this fall. And so these state legislative elections are going to be particularly important in the South this year because of the Supreme Court decision. Talk to us about your state legislative work and why it's so important. And also, it's so hopeful and inspirational because they are really the core of our democracy.
Yeah, as I noted, about half our candidates, more than half our candidates this year are running for state ledge. They are in almost all of the states that we've got candidates in writ large. And for us, I think especially this year, because we do such broad scale recruitment, we are often working in these places where most Democratic organizations don't engage because they're long shot races. It's like
Right.
R plus 20 districts. Those are the places where we're going to be really glad that we have great candidates who've been on the ground for months, in some places years, knocking doors and doing the hard work to actually engage because as you noted, in this year, anything is possible. And as they redraw these maps, we're going to need candidates who can rise into these positions. A Run for Something has been really thinking about the South as part of our long term battleground plan. We put out our Battle Up plan last October, which is a vision for what could the battleground map look like in 2032. Not just in 2028, not just in 2026, but post redistricting, post the census in 2030. And what we landed on is asking, well, what the question we initially asked is, where could our particular intervention of recruiting and supporting local candidates change the political environment in a place? Obviously, Georgia is one of those dozen states, but
Yeah.
it also includes places like North Carolina, Utah, Nebraska,
Yeah.
Iowa, Arizona, Texas, Florida, Idaho, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Places where I'm not saying they're definitely going to be battlegrounds 6 years from now, but if we don't do the work to build political infrastructure, to make sure we've got great talent, to flip city council, state legislative races, school board seats in those places, we will have no paths to victory. And that is not an option we can sustain.
That's right. And for those of you who joined a little bit later, Amanda's talking about they've recruited or supported or helped recruit or support around 400 local candidates across the country right now in almost every state. And, one of my examples when people are like, well, you can't win in Alabama or you can't do that. Can you imagine if Doug Jones had not signed up to run for Senate
Yeah.
when he won? We've got to have candidates uh, in every single race possible because we don't know, even in a very hard place, to your point on R plus 20, we don't know what the context will end up being. We don't know what skeletons are in the Republicans' closet. And, Doug Jones, he's on my mind because I was on a call with him this morning and he's running for governor of Alabama. This is a year we could win that race. And so, and how we win those really tough races, like a Doug Jones in Alabama running for governor, like Scott Colomb running for U.S. Senate in Mississippi, with what they're doing on the ground right now to gut Black political power in Mississippi post the Supreme Court decision. Us and many others are talking about how we have massive turnout and why when that really works is when this whole ecosystem's together, when the Run for Something candidates are running locally and
Mhm.
knocking every single door, pushing up turnout. It helps the top of the ticket. It helps them. So what we got to collectively orchestrate is candidates in as many offices as possible, running really great local races for local office, state legislature, and then having talented, qualified candidates for the statewide. And then you come together in a perfect storm to get as much power as you can. And then one of the things that I'm also excited about in terms of hope, this is a hope call, all hope, no
Oh,
doom, is that when we get to the other side of these fall elections with all these local candidates who are raising their hands all the way to the Scott Colomb running for, Senate in Mississippi, such a tough but important state, is that next year we can really start to advance structural democracy reform. Because we may not have the presidency, but if we have Congress and the Senate and a slew of local legislators and the rest, they can start moving bills. They can start building the record. We didn't get the Voting Rights Act overnight. We had to build a record. We had to try different things and build up the pressure on reforming the court and the congressional voting rights and the rest. That can be part of the mission next year. I don't think there's anybody who's confused that that's the mission now, as
yeah.
as well as working on issues of affordability and normal day-to-day things to address the issues in people's lives. So we're going to do 2 more minutes of rap. I'm so thrilled to hear it. I did not know how many candidates you had going this year. It's so important. What do you think? You've been doing this now for many cycles. What feels different to you about this year?
I think there's two things. One is the battlefield feels much bigger. Like we have an opportunity to win in some really long shot races. In 2025, we worked with candidates who won in districts Trump won 70-30. We worked with Taylor Ramett, who won that state Senate seat in Texas in a district Trump won by 17 points. Like these are not safe blue areas or not even purple areas. They are deep red. People are pissed, and good candidates who can connect to them authentically and about issues they care about can break through in a big way. The second thing that I am really excited about, um, what was I just gonna say? Oh my god. Um,
It's You
oh,
talked to
the thing that's very different this year, that's what it was. The thing that's really different this year is in particular around candidate recruitment. It is not just that people are running about Trump, they're not just running to save democracy, they're running because they're pissed at the current class of Democratic leadership. We
Yeah.
are hearing that more and more, that they are done being told to wait their turn. They are done being told to like get in the back of the line. They are done being told, no, 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 focus on this, not that. Like, screw you. I want to focus on the things that my community cares about. I'm going to fight for me if you're not going to fight for me. And I think that's amazing. And it's a thing that honestly, we didn't hear as much in 2017. We are hearing it a ton in 2025 and 2026.
I'm so glad you brought that point up because we are in the mess we're in, uh, that in no small part to the failures of the Democratic Party. We have not collectively given the people enough reason for belief and not delivered enough. And this is kind of there's a general issue that we got to get real on if we're going to be leaders in this and if we're going to try to recruit people to run, which is we have to do better. It's not enough to be anti.
Yeah.
We have to have a positive vision for the future that's about people's lives, that's connected to them, that's real. We need candidates that aren't just on the phone all day raising money, that they're actually out in the community and organizing. And so, it is an inflection point in American history, and the leadership changes at all levels that are needed. And I recently heard an incredible leader of the Sunrise Movement, the youth environmental movement, talking about how we have to feel comfortable giving the keys away, giving the power away, spreading power, sharing power, and allowing our folks to organize and build and not being afraid of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's fundamentally what an organization like you does. Like you give the keys away on how to run for office. You don't control them. You don't control their platform. There's no litmus test. You go out and you serve your community. And as we go through the leadership battles and the presidential and all the other things, like supporting that next generation of leadership. And even, the Gen X level of leadership, we have a situation where a lot of people are ready to take the reins.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll end on this, from like a Southern reflection is we've got the talent down here. We have the energy. We have the know-how. We need the resources and the belief. We need the organizations like Run for Something helping recruit down here. We need the people watching on the chat to get engaged in this fight. There's going to be some big national mobilizations on here.
Mm.
And we're all in this together, no matter what region you are in. And so thank you, Amanda, for your work at Run for Something. Everybody watching, go look them up, give them money, support them with any money, run for office.
Mm-hmm.
Do it, school board, local office. Don't wait and contact Run for Something if you want to help.
That's right.
And Amanda, kick butt today, and I'll see you at the next thing.
Thanks,
Take
Lauren.
care. Bye.